Welcome to Enchanted Astrology with Ariel Smith. Thank you for joining me. Today we are looking at the astrological forecast for the week of March 4th until March 10th. Now this week we have Mercury continuing his retrograde journey back through Pisces. We have Venus entering Aries. We have a powerful kazimi and Mercury traveling back, almost reaching that eclipse point within 1 degree by the end of this week. Now we start on March 4th with Venus at 27 degrees of Pisces, forming a sextile to Uranus in Taurus at 27 degrees. Now this is happening while we have 4 personal planets in the sign of Pisces and Venus opposing that moon in Virgo. So only yesterday we had the Virgo lunar eclipse where we are closing out some commitments, some habits, routines, or emotions that are no longer useful and have been quite honestly draining us. Now, after this clearing out of what has been draining you, what has been stagnant, that energy takes up space, right? It's clutter. And clutter restricts the flow of new energy coming in. Now, if anybody is a fan of the art of Feng Shui, we might be familiar with this idea, right? Energy needs to move. If it doesn't, it becomes stagnant and unhealthy. And we can even see this in water because as long as water is moving, it's healthy. But if water sits and doesn't move, it becomes unhealthy or even toxic. So this is beautifully represented by this lunar eclipse because it's getting the waters of Pisces moving by clearing out stagnant and draining energies in Virgo. And Virgo is good at this process. It can analyze what isn't working, what is draining on the system, as long as Virgo has evolved out of its phase of seeking its self-worth in service to the point of martyrdom. So evolved Virgo is like the art of Feng Shui. It reorganizes the living room, it freshens up the linens, it opens the windows, and it gets movement flowing so energy can circulate again. And this is a big part of the lunar eclipse that we are coming off of, where we are identifying where we have too much clutter, where we are living in excess in a way that feels cumbersome. It doesn't feel freeing, it just weighs us down. And on a personal note, I realized this weekend that we have way too many bed sheets. When I know that I have 4 sets on standby, am I motivated to wash the current set immediately? No, absolutely not. I have other things to do, and the bed sheets can wait. Because honestly, worst case scenario, I have 4 more sets to choose from. And it clutters up the process. This excess clutters up the process. Because if that was my only set, I would absolutely be motivated to throw it in the wash immediately. So, needless to say, we are now downsizing our bed sheets. And my husband and I have been discussing this quite a lot recently. The understanding that the more that we have, the more things that we have, the less we can actually enjoy them. And it's so true because you're trying to essentially spread your time and your attention over all of these things, and you ultimately get less enjoyment out of each one. So this is that clearing out energy that is making way for new energy to flow in. And this Venus at 27 degrees of Pisces forming a sextile with Uranus in Taurus is exactly your higher desires beginning to flow in now because there's room. So Venus in Pisces is renewed. She is at the end of the Pisces journey, at the end of a cycle, clearing out what was not serving her and allowing herself to dream about what she truly wants next. What serves her higher goals and dreams? What does she actually truly desire? And it looks a little bit different in Pisces because desires here are not focused on an external goal or object. So Venus in Pisces desires more purely. And what I mean by that is we desire the car or the vacation or the lavish goods because we desire happiness. And we believe those external things will bring us the happiness that we desire within. And Venus in Pisces cuts out the middleman. She desires happiness directly. She desires compassion, love, connection, things that we find when we go within. And her sextile to Uranus and Taurus, from that pure desire, is not about controlling what that looks like on the external. She has faith that the desire itself will magnetize to her what is truly aligned. So this sextile to Uranus, right after the clearing of that Virgo lunar eclipse, shows that she has made space to call that in. She has now become the path of least resistance, and she has made room for these beautiful new energies to flow in. So this is a beautifully supportive sextile on March 4th. And on March 6th, Venus now moves to enter Aries. And Venus is traditionally in detriment in Aries because she usually wants time to reflect. She likes the mirror. She likes the process of refinement. It's almost like preening in a mirror, right? You do your hair and your makeup and you use the reflection to adjust. What does this reflection say about who I am? What do I like and value based on what I see reflected back? Same as trying on clothes, right? You go into a change room and decide if you like the outfit based on what you see in the reflection. And that is Venus in her comfort zone. But Venus in Aries pulls us to make more decisive and authentic decisions based on raw desire. So Venus in Aries is like that awful change room with no mirror in it. How do I know if I like this outfit if I can't even see it? And Aries says, it's not about how it looks. Focus on how does it feel, right? Is it comfortable? Is it functional? Do you like the feel of the fabric? When you put it on, do you immediately feel a yes or do you feel a no? So Aries pulls her out of her comfort zone on relying on the mirror to tell her how she feels based on what she sees, and challenges her to relate in a completely different way. So it's a shift out of a mindset of how do I present to others into how do I feel within? How does this make me feel without factoring in how I am presenting? And she is uncomfortable here, but she's also learning to be more self-empowered here. So she's learning to trust her instincts and her raw feelings. And this is the energy of being more decisive, of not overthinking what you want, not overthinking what you are desiring next. So Venus moves through Aries and gets us in touch with our internal compass. What feels right for you? There are honestly some fun ways to work with this Venus in Aries energy. You could go a day or a couple days without looking in a mirror, right? How foreign does that sound? When you have no mental concept, though, of how you look for the day, it can really shift your focus inward, right? Instead of how do I look, it's how am I feeling? Or go shopping and try something on without a mirror. Get in touch with how does it feel? How are you making a decision about something without the reflection of the mirror to sway your opinion? Now Venus will move on to form a conjunction with Neptune on March 7th at 1 degree of Aries. And this is very brand new beginning energy. She has cleared out the clutter. She has created space to receive what she truly wants. And now she is getting in touch with her unfiltered self. And this conjunction with Neptune forms a new ideal she wants to step into. So she is seeing herself more clearly. It's not through the enchantment of all the external reflections, but it's through direct connection to her soul. So she is stepping into her higher timeline here. She is transcending old illusions about herself. Now, on this same day, at around 4 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on March 7th, Mercury is also in a kazimi with the Sun. So this is a very close conjunction, basically an exact alignment with the heart of the Sun. And in Pisces, this is a powerful intuition and clear insight being received. And this can change your perception about something entirely. So you may come to a very strong realization that helps bring you into alignment with your higher path. So pay attention to your dreams this night, as depending on your time zone, this kazimi is happening in the early morning hours of March 7th. Then on March 8th, Venus moves to 2 degrees of Aries, where she forms a conjunction with Saturn. And this is a commitment to your higher timeline. This is investing in yourself. This is setting the foundation that will support what has been revealed to you and ultimately where you are choosing to go next. So there is maturity, there is patience here. But Saturn does not want to waste energy on unnecessary things. This is an energy that wants to set a goal and commit all its resources toward that goal. And in Aries, if there's impulsiveness, if there's jumping from one thing to the next, being indecisive, Saturn will feel exhausted and frustrated, because Saturn does not want to be sidetracked. But Venus has already been through this process of identifying what her energy drains are. She has set these pure goals, and now she's bringing those goals to Saturn to build. And she has to make sure there are only 1 or 2 priorities when she goes to Saturn, and not 17 things on the to-do list. So Saturn says, what do you really truly want above all else? What does your heart truly desire? Bring that to me and let's commit to it. So there's a maturity here. There is commitment to what your heart truly desires. And if Venus hasn't taken the time to go within, if she's still focused on the reflections or the external validation, she will change her mind again and again, because she will feel that misalignment. and that will frustrate Saturn. But luckily, before she reaches Saturn, there is that Mercury kazimi giving this deep insight into what you truly value and want next. Now, on this same day, there is also a water grand trine. So Mercury retrograde in Pisces at 15 degrees, the Sun in Pisces at 17 degrees, and these are within 3 degrees of that eclipse point, while we also have Jupiter retrograde in Cancer at 15 degrees and the Moon at 15 degrees of Scorpio. Now this grand trine brings karmic healing so that we don't keep repeating the same lessons. So there's an understanding of the shadow side here, that Moon in Scorpio can see where there were distortions previously and why that was happening. And Jupiter retrograde in Cancer is releasing this baggage that we have been carrying forward. So this energy is highly intuitive. It is very compassionate. It is not judgmental. It's not a harsh energy. It is very soft, very understanding and supportive. And this allows you to shed baggage around your core identity. So if you identified as damaged or wounded, if you carried around any label that felt very heavy, this ultimately gives permission to dissolve that label. So there is understanding about why it cannot move forward with you into this next cycle. There is compassion for yourself and others. And this is intuitively guiding you toward what will serve you next. And Neptune, Venus, and Saturn, all in Aries, are helping to ground that and move it forward into action. So overall, this is a very supportive and dynamic week, and I hope this helps to validate some of your experiences and supports you in the week ahead. Now, as always, thank you so much for joining me here today. I will be back next week with another episode.